Good to see you. Good man.
It's great.
Welcome, Jack Harvey.
Hi everybody. How's it going?
Oh, Jeff.
So much about your team is the same, and yet so much is different.
Yes.
I think it's a different optimism. You're going to be running in partnership with Andretti Autosport or Andretti Technologies, which will, in theory, give you two groups of people to work with.
Yeah.
How excited are you?
I mean, honestly, for our whole season in general, we're extremely excited. I think a lot of people know how long of a slow burn it was for us to get to this point with 6 races in 18, 10 races last year, and then obviously full-time drive now. Really, the first thing we have to do is say thank you to Automation SiriusXM, because it was their support, and they got on board early and said, yeah, we want to go full-time racing. And then obviously we know what happened with Schmidt Peterson Motorsports changing into our McLaren SP, and obviously changing to Chevrolet, and obviously left a hole for us to try and fill, and almost immediately we went straight to Andretti Autosport at the time, but our technical partner is Andretti Technologies. And honestly, that deal was so easy to put together. I think it was a strong desire from both parties just to get it done and get it dusted, and I think that arrangement actually was nearly sorted by Portland Grand Prix last year, so it was a really seamless transition, or at least it looked like it was going to be. My deal got signed just after Portland, just before Laguna, so we went into the off-season knowing quickly and early what our program was going to look like, and that's just kind of on the MSR side of things. Knowing then how competitive Andretti Autosport have been, of course we were extremely excited to be partnering with them. So as you said, a lot of new things, but a lot of things that are going to be familiar working with two teams in one, as it were. We're just excited to get started.
Your results aside, where was your best race last year?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of hard to say anything other than Indy Grand Prix. We qualified well. We raced in the front all day. I think that was a tough race because it was dry. It started raining when we were still on slicks, and then it rained again, and that was the first time I actually driven the IndyCar in the wet. Yeah, we still managed to stay at the front and got our first IndyCar podium. I thought Portland was obviously going to be a great weekend. Whatever, it happens. Disappointing, and I think when you're doing the 10 races like we were, the thing I'm trying to explain to people is we didn't get the opportunity to do every race. It's not like you can just bounce back. Every race was under extreme scrutiny and extreme pressure to go and deliver, to try and, catapult us into the situation we've ended up on. And I think our results, throughout all of last year, really starting at St. Pete and, working through to the end of the year, we're consistently there. We qualified in the top 12, a bunch of times, top fast 6 twice, podium once, and, several top 10s. And honestly, could have even been better again. So the natural step and evolution of our program hasn't just been in how many races we've been getting to do, it's also come in results. So obviously we're hoping that we carry that on this year.
Let's think about how long you've been at this. It has been a long journey
Yeah.
to get to this point. Your perseverance has been admirable. Did you ever get to a point where you thought, maybe this isn't going to work out like I thought?
Oh yeah, many times. Kind of hard not to, right?
All right,
I mean, don't get me wrong, confident for sure. I like to think I'm, confident in myself. I would never go and ask, people for sponsorship or the opportunity if I didn't think I could deliver on track, and that was important to me last year. That as we got more races, we delivered the performance to go with it, which we did. At least, I thought we did. My first 500 being in 2017, and then doing that, and 6 races, and then 10. If you said to me in 17, it's not going to take until 2020, it's been a 4-year drive, how do you feel about that? It would have been a case of, well, if that's what it takes, or that's how long it takes, that's how long it takes. And not that I'm looking to pat myself on the back, but if you ask me what I think our story is about, getting to this point, it is perseverance and hard work and a determination that we know where we want to be. We just got to keep trying until we get there.
Bruce?
And also another ingredient is loyalty. It seems that you've been loyal to Mike, Mike's been loyal to you, Honda's been loyal to Mike. What is it about Mike that, AJ Allmendinger loves the guy, and everybody that's ever been involved with him just has these glowing things to say about Mike Shank? What is it about him that you can feel the presence of his loyalty?
Michael is such a good guy in the sense of when he tells you something, he's very honest. He's so far followed through on everything that he said we were going to do, and the way we even got paired together was unusual circumstances with Fernando coming in to do the 500 that year. And before I could even get his phone number to call him and say that I was still in board and I'd give him 110, that he had mine and gave me the same speech that I was trying to give to him. One of the things I love about Michael as a team owner is on our very first IndyCar test at Sebring together, when we signed the 2-year deal back in the start of 18, because he was the guy in the roof of the trailer, like loading the car in and putting the Kiwi tile away. And when someone lives and breathes and eats his race team, like he's there every single day. Motorsport, he hasn't got any side businesses that he falls back on and like plugs money from there to fund his race team. His race team is his life. And him and his wife MB, I would say, put it all on the line more than one time. And I think people are loyal to Mike because he's genuine, he's a good guy, he's truthful and honest, which also, by the way, isn't the answer that you always want to hear. But on the whole, I remember it as plain as day, and not to spoil the long story, I can try and keep it short. After our first 517, we went to Detroit and we chatted about this big plan that we had, and it was a case of starting small and growing. And we stayed true to it, and there was moments last year we talked about doing an extra race here, an extra race there, and it became apparent quickly that it was only going to be, we would do the extra races last year if we got this year sorted early, and we were not prepared to jeopardise anything for this year. So I think he's an easy guy to be loyal with and to, because he's a guy that you can totally get behind and believe in as much as he believes in his team.
And also, he's been very smart and shrewd. He told me when he did Indy with you in 2017, he went out and rented the pit equipment rather than going out and buying it. And he said that was a huge factor in him being able to put out as competitive a product as that. A lot of team owners, they go out and they start spending, and before they know it, they're in debt.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fact that Michael has his race team is his business. He's got no side businesses that he tries to make money in and then shuffle back into the racing team. And I think that because of that, you have to be somewhat careful. You have to be smart. You have to be sensible. You have to be realistic. And if you know Michael's a business guy, our racing program with him has mirrored exactly that. What I will say though, before he gets the short end of the stick on that, we might have only done 10 of the 17 races last year, but this was very much a team of people we're here full time. Every employee was full time. My contract was full time. There was no, we're only here half the time. There was none of that mentality in the team. Certainly not from a spending point. So we had a limit and we had a cap for the amount of races that we could do, and did things get tight? Probably. But we also were sensible and realistic. But the thing that I felt confident with, especially last year, was that it might have been part-time, we didn't do every race, but it certainly was a full-time effort, which I think is why the transition to full-time racing now has been relatively easy, I would say.
Steve Lidge?
I have 2 questions. Since Wolfgang's not here yet. Which track that you haven't been to yet are you most looking forward to?
I mean, Detroit's always looked fun to me. I know it's a rough and ready street circuit, probably. It's super bumpy and it's a double header weekend, and it's probably one of those ones where following the back of May, you get there and probably people are exhausted, the team are exhausted, but it's a fun event. The track looks sweet and it looks cool. And then the other thing, obviously there's going to be a lot of new ovals for me. I've actually driven at Iowa, but I haven't been to Richmond, I've not been to Texas. I won't have been to Gateway, so it's funny because although next year I'm not going, or this year, sorry, I'm not going as a rookie, but there's, like a third of the races I've never been to, so it's going to be a lot of learning probably, but I haven't raced in Toronto in the IndyCar, and that's outside of the Indy 500, probably my favourite weekend. So I think there's a lot of things to look forward to, and truthfully, think the IndyCar schedule, there's no race you look at and just be like, schedule filler. They're all genuine races in their own right.
Working with another engineer, another new engineer this year.
Yeah.
You
3
know,
in 3 years.
Continuity is good, but is there something you can take away and learn from each of them? Is that the positive side of it?
Oh, absolutely. I think, again, from 2018 to 19, that situation was really out of my control. Last year was really out of my control. You know, last year, 2018, I had Mike Culliver as my engineer, and he did a fantastic job, and certainly I was keen to try and keep him on, but as we ended up having to make the change away from, you know, our McLaren SP, he was still there at the time, and there was no way to, you know, to try and bring him over. That being said, I think my new engineer now, Andy List, really deserves an opportunity because he's been there, and the thing that I always try and stress to people is getting an opportunity in motorsport is not exclusive to drivers. You know, it's to engineers, it's to mechanics, it's to all those guys, and you know, as people in management to continue to, you know, progress through a company too. It's so much the drivers whine, strong word. So much the drivers complain that, you know, they need the opportunity, and it's very apparent that yes, we know drivers need an opportunity, but they've got it. But like, you know, I don't think, although I've had 3 engineers in 3 years, none of them have been because we didn't get along or we wanted to stop working with each other. It was just one of them was out of my control. But, you know, all of them have been out of my control. But I think this year, especially with the whole new technical partnership, it was kind of to be expected. But yeah, I think, you know, something to learn from all of them, of course.
Okay, we'll take our last question.
Speaking of opportunity in motorsport, we got an opportunity to move to SiriusXM. And
Good man.
I wanted to ask you about what it's meant to you, your relationship with Jim Meyer and the relationship with SiriusXM.
So my relationship with Jim really started as a friend of a friend. Got me connected with Jim, and they did a little bit of family fundraising in my first Indy 500. I then went to the party to say thank you to everybody. Jim wasn't there, and I said to the host, Ann Bolden, and if someone's not here, I want to meet them, say thank you. She texted me the next day, you need to be at Daddy Jack's in Indianapolis on Friday. I was like, okay, well, it's Thursday, so I guess I'll free my schedule up like that, which was fine. Met Jim, honestly just said thank you because he was one of the guys who initially put in just a little bit of money into the family friends and fund. He then asked me to go for brunch, and that was you know, me and him together agreed an amount that he would try and sponsor the car for the Indy 500 in 2017, and turns out he had such a good time that he also acquired a part of Michael Shank's racing team. So Jim's one of those guys that I look at him now, and you know, he's a guy who helps me on and off the track. I went to New York at the end of last year and actually stayed with him. You know, so yes, there's a line between he's my boss. You know, and I have an immense amount of respect for him as an individual, than in terms of what he's done to our racing program, but also what he does with SiriusXM, and you know how valuable and important he is there. It's also interesting sometimes because he is the guy I met at brunch, and you know, he's got his shorts, and you know, he's kind of just a normal guy, and it's really cool to see him go from being that normal guy to being SiriusXM CEO. You know, because the line really stops with him. So Jim's the guy that, you know, when this is all said and done, and you know, hopefully I've had a great career like Tony's had and whatnot, he'll be one of the guys that you would write about and say, if it wasn't for that guy, I would never have got this opportunity. And I've got one other guy who's like that. His name's Mark Cannon from AutoNation. Both of those two people really saved my career. You know, so whether this lasts for, you know, 20, 21, or it lasts another 10 years, it's those will be the people I remember for giving me this opportunity.
Paul sure won't put his hand down if we don't let him ask questions.
He'll put both in the air now.
Now that you're, or now that Meyer Shank Racing is partnered Andretti Autosport, are you going to be directly, I realise they're a separate entity, but are you going to be directly comparing yourself with the Andretti Autosport drivers in the same way Colton did as a Harvey driver?
Yeah, exactly that. It will mirror exactly that. All our engineering meetings and briefings will happen in the same truck and trailer. You know, we get access to everything that they're doing on the weekend. Very similar situation to what we had at last year with Schmidt Peterson Motorsports, now obviously Arrow, McLaren SP, and it's very similar to what Harley Cyber Racing had as well. So I think in that regard, it's such a fine line because it's an extension of the race team with their technical arm. There's Andretti Technologies with Shank Racing. So yeah.
Does that intimidate you at all, given that you're up against a champion IndyCar, two IndyCar
No more than it would be if you joined any other team in IndyCar. I mean, the thing is, this year, I don't know if you guys have looked at it, I'm sure you have, the series is so competitive. You know, like, I mean, just breaking into the top 12 this year is going to be hard. You know, so would you feel as intimidated going to Team Penske, Ganassi, you know, like any of those places? Yeah, you probably feel a little intimidated. That being said, I feel like I'm here on merit too, and I'm here to fight for every opportunity that I've got. I've worked hard for this. Not sure intimidated is the right word. I think it's pretty cool to be able to go and see what these guys are doing, what makes them good, what makes them fast, what makes them competitive, and go and learn from them. You know, so at a minimum it's going to be a good learning experience, but also, and the data compares that we've done already, it's not like they're better everywhere. You know, we've had really good weekends where we could have outperformed them, and you know, vice versa. We just need opportunity to do it more. So more excited about the opportunity to learn and grow as a driver myself.
Perfect. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks all for coming out today.